Yeah, obviously, when we come up to Michigan, I feel like the microphones are unnecessary right now. I appreciate the handful that hung out, but this seems excessive. Uh, obviously, it was. Oh, okay. I got you. So this is for the people that skimped out on us. Got it. Got it. They know who they are. And I think for us, Michigan is forward country, right? And we talk about the manufacturer wars when we come up here, and this is home for Jack Roush and Brad, and there's a heavy weight on our shoulders, and to be able to keep that streak alive and keep that trophy at a Blue Oval headquarters, that's certainly very cool for us. Very, very awesome opportunity for us to be the ones that brought that one home this time. And we have such a massive Ford presence here, and it goes a long way. And we knew on the weekend, we felt like we were the most competitive Ford at the racetrack, and we're able to get that win through a lot of hard work, some great strategy, and an extra day on the schedule. So it's certainly big, and like you said, 9 in a row. That's that's fantastic, especially knowing a lot of those were double up years. So pretty cool.
Yeah, we had it was Friday. We had a Ford event with all the crew chiefs, and Edsel talked to us about how important it was to him, and how much it's meant to him to have it for this many years, and really kind of stressed everybody that he really wants to continue with that tradition. So for us to be able to get the win today, like I say, bring it back for Ford, it means a lot. Obviously, it's a pretty good day.
Larry Leach from AP, how do you explain that half your career wins have come in the last 2 weeks?
I don't like your statistic, but I think that if you think back just where RFK is right now, you think back to where RFK was in the last time that the last time we got to be up here together was Xfinity days in 2015, right? And to be able to take the last couple of years and continuously work to build RFK back to that heyday, and to keep working and getting after it, and so much has gone into that, so much that is completely over my head, so much effort back at the shop. It's neat to see so many new faces during the celebration that we had last week. Every bit of a dozen, maybe 18 people raised their hand when Jack asked whose first Cup win that Richmond was. So that's awesome to see that, but then also to see the people that have been around for 25, 30 years, to see the people that when I was allowed to work in the shop and be in there, see the people that were in the fab shop or in Fit Fab or the carbon shop, and just see the people worked alongside and see the excitement back on their faces. I mean, it's certainly good timing. It's certainly just a testament of all the work that's gone into the next gen car. All the work that's gone into just continuously developing it. It's making my job a lot easier to go out here and win these races. And I just think that it's good timing when we look at where we're at in the season. Sure would have loved to have won at Daytona and said that you felt like you were pretty much locked in, but we've been fast at a lot of places and haven't quite been able to grab that trophy. But to grab the last 2 weeks now, that's certainly very good timing as we head into playoffs here in just a few short weeks.
I'll go to Bob, Taylor, Cameron.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. If I told you 10 days ago you were going to sweep Richmond and Michigan, what would you have told me?
I hope you're right, and and that would be our plan. I don't know. I guess we talked a lot in the past several months because we've gotten close to playoffs. We've been in a decent place in points, but not locked in by any means, and so we've more than I would like had conversations about points and what we're gonna have to do, right? And kind of got to the point where like I said, I don't like points racing. I don't like doing it that way. We come to the track to win races, and that's been our goal every single week. of the season, and just being able to execute at a high level, and for Scott and our group to bring fast cars to the racetrack and to make the right calls, and to be able to fight off a champion in our sport for the win. That's obviously just goes to show that it's been a lot of hard work, but I wouldn't say that. I guess it surprised you a little bit, but it was always our intention to go win every single week that we show up, and it's cool that it's at two drastically different racetracks as well.
You're going to go Taylor, then Cameron, then Lee?
Taylor DeSarmo with MLive.com. When Martin got under there with about 12 to go, there's a lot of side drafting, and you got a little loose in turn one. What was that like from your seat? What were the emotions, and how would you describe that moment?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be really tough, and where they were so good was just wrapping the bottom, and I seen it yesterday in the race, and we talked about it when we went into rain delay that felt like the 19 was probably the car to beat, and was just able to maneuver, get through traffic very well, and so knowing that we had to commit to a little bit higher, kind of a low mid lane to make our maximum or our minimum lap time to try and make max speed, and that was letting him get enough clean air to be able to get really close to us at times. So just work to try and cover as best we could, and that one I missed. He got a good run down the bottom, and I just didn't pull the car down the hill far enough, and he was able to pull up on our quarter panel there. I knew that was going to be a very difficult move to defend, and fortunately at that moment we were close enough to the tail end of the field that we're able to pull a little bit of draft from the outside lane, and I guess probably on the unfortunate side, it's also probably the reason that we lost some speed, just being that little bit of dirty air, and probably got us that little bit of tight. So, it hurt us to get into that position, but it also helped pull us out of it. And and Truex is a very clean racer, and try and live by that same mindset ourselves, so that we can get in those situations and have that level of respect where we're going to be able to race hard and race clean, and get a win out of it, but say that we worked for it.
Go to Cameron, then Lee, then Steven.
Richardson, NASCAR.com. Chris, what does it say about your progression as a driver? In your rookie cup season, you won, but you were one and done in the playoffs. Now you banked multiple wins this season. What does it say when you've got 2 wins and it feels like you can make that deep run in the playoffs instead of being another one and done?
Yeah, I'd say it's not just me. I think our group has come so far. I don't think that after last week we ever thought we would be one and done. I think that coming into this week, before where we're sitting right now, we knew that we had some really good races coming up for us before the playoffs start. With this one, maybe not feeling quite as strong as some of the road courses and Daytona coming up even. So, that certainly sets well with us. I think that if you look at the playoffs and the rounds, great racetracks for us that we've been very strong at. Bristol, that we won at last year. So some road course races in there, Talladega. I'm missing some here, but a lot of good racetracks for us that make us feel like we're going to be able to make a run at this thing. And I think that today really kind of helps set that in stone more for us. But I don't think that we ever thought before today that wasn't the plan. I think it's just a lot of things have come a long way. We are consistently much faster when we get to the racetrack every week. Both of our race cars, Brad finishing 4th here today, so that's both of us that have been very competitive the last 2 weeks together, but also we've been competitive at a lot of different places through the year, and not always having the finish to show for it, and that's ultimately what most people would judge it off of, but we've certainly felt like we had momentum at a lot of these styles of racetracks to where our day was coming if we just did a good job and made all the right decisions, and made the right moves on restarts, and everything that goes into this. It's not just me. There's a massive team element to this thing. We have hundreds of people back in Concord, North Carolina, that are helping us sit here right now.
We're going to go to Lee and then Steven.
Lee Spencer, catchfence.com. Scott, you've been at the company long enough to see what Brad's influence has been. And, you know, before last year, Buescher, no one had won in 5 years. And I'm just kind of curious if you can tell us who are not inside the walls at RFK, what is the fundamental change there? What is the difference between taking an organization that has tried to right the ship? I mean, we hear racing cyclical, but I can't tell you how many times I've sat in, you know, the January preseason stuff. We're going to right the ship. It's going to be better this year. But now we're seeing it. So can you kind of talk about the philosophy of that we're seeing there that hasn't been there in the past?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the, you know, in the past there's been expectations, right? Like you said, we're always saying we're going to right the ship and get things going. I think with Brad, I mean, there's expectations, but then he has been very adamant and supportive about actually giving us the tools. He's really pressed for, you know, just getting the investments. Like we got a new hauler this year, we got a new pit box, and those might not seem like big things on the outside, but they make coming to the racetrack easier. They make being in the race, so like just having all the right information in front of you, having the right equipment makes things better. And then just, you know, there's other things. You look at the shop, everything looks new. You know, a few years ago, it wasn't something you'd necessarily want to, you wouldn't want to take a lot of pictures of and put them out there, but you look at it now and everything's bright, everything's clean, and that starts at that level, but then it works down into everything you do and the expectations that everyone has. So it's hard to just say specifically what it is. It's a lot of things, but it's really just been his support, I guess, to the teams to make sure we have everything we need to be competitive.
And Chris, Brad said that, you know, he expected to be okay at Richmond and okay at Michigan. He said once we got to Indy, he really thought that was going to be the race that turned the deal around. But when I asked him specifically about you, I said, you know, what would you tell Chris at this point in his development? And he said, I wouldn't have him change a thing. Where do you see yourself compared to your first round of Roush to now?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how our season's gone, and you know, a lot of it does come back down to you know, the organization and the investments that have been made and the things that have gotten better and put us in these opportunities. You know, it was when I was 15 years old and was sitting in Robbie Reiser's office at Roush and sitting there staring at a piece of paper that says, look, you got an opportunity to do a development program here. I didn't have a whole lot of credentials to be sitting in that office at that time. A lot of Legends car wins and not much big car experience at all. You know, had an old late model that David Reagan's old late model that we ran a few times. David would go to the track and help spot, and he was a terrible spotter, but turns out I am too. And when I spotted for him running his several years later, I almost got him in the same amount of trouble he got me in. So I just think back to that and, you know, kind of the credentials at that time, knowing the work that was getting ready to have to be put in, and then also realizing that it was only 15 years ago, that a lot of things have happened really quick. You know, may not seem like it, but look back now and it's surely flown by. So, you know, just surely makes you appreciate the time, the work that went into it, the 5:30 a.m. workouts that I was forced into because I'm not a morning person. The time in the shop, the time working to try and improve the simulator that we use so much. All that isn't the most fun at the time, but certainly builds up your skill set and just puts you in a better place to where you're just constantly learning. And it's like any profession, right? You're constantly learning and trying to figure out how to be better. And you know, we've been through a lot of years of doing that and trying to keep developing, but also you know, with everybody around us right now and the improvements that we've had, it's just elevating everything all at the same time. So. Yeah, it's it's been a very short period of time, and also an eternity at the same time. So, think back to the same point. 15 years ago, Roush was dominating, and that was 8 or 9 wins on a season, competing for championships, and knowing that this was going to be a great place to go win races as you continue to build up through your career, right? And fast forward a handful of years later, and it's kind of that time where Roush had gotten to probably his low point, and it had been that steady climb from there. And like Scott was saying, the expectations for a little while was, look, we're in a bad spot. We know it. We need to be 10 spots better. Well, 10 spots better was only 15th at the time, and you look back at it now, it's like, man, that was, you're looking for those steps, but we need to take a massive step in a big swing, and I think that's where, with some of Brad's direction and some of the rebranding within RFK as a group, and I think that's been the investment, is to say our expectation is not to get 5 spots better. It is to win races and to compete for championships, and the investment's there, the people are there. Everything is behind it to get us to that point, and we're starting to reap some of the rewards from that right now. But we also have a lot of racing left to go this year. So, like I said, momentum is something that I kind of I didn't believe in it for a long time. My career didn't really feel like that was a real thing, and I was wrong. I was certainly wrong. I feel like you see it more now, and just to know that this next gen car, one, it's probably a little bit more similar across some racetracks than the old cars, but also it certainly goes a long way. When you think about what Richmond is to Michigan, and you weigh those tracks over each other, not even in the same ballpark, right? And to be able to sit here for 2 weeks in a row at both those places, that's in my mind the biggest accomplishment over the last 2. Is not just that it's 2 in a row, but that it's 2 drastically different racetracks.
We're going to go to Stephen, Eric, and Matt.
Steven Stump, frontstretch.com. I have a question for both. I'll start with Chris. So I guess piggybacking off how half your wins have come in the last 2 races, you first started off with a 222 race drought. You broke at Bristol, then you broke a 28 race drought last week, and now you've broken a 0 race drought. So I guess my question is there a little bit of a culture shock to go from being so long without a win to winning this much in a short period of time?
I wouldn't say a culture shock. That's what we expect. But yeah, I mean, it certainly is just a mentality. It's an energy that is back at the shop. We're full of a bunch of racers. We are competitive people throughout, hundreds of us, and nobody likes losing. And 28 races without a win, that's that doesn't sound like a drought, but it's our sport's tough. It's not like other team sports or team versus team sports where it's a 50-50 on your day, right? You either win or lose. We are in a battle with a lot of other teams, and you don't get to win very often because it is so difficult to be that consistent and make everything fall into place at the right time. So, certainly there's a lot that goes into it, but no, it's not a shock so much as it's just amazing to see the energy from those that have been at Roush for several decades to those that last week was their first win. That's awesome. That's special to see, and it's awesome to know that that kind of energy builds that momentum that I used to not subscribe to, and keeps us moving forward to where we can be better every single week that we go to the track, and try not to have any more droughts any longer.
Okay. And then the next question I have is for both of you. So you guys were paired together in the Xfinity Series. You won the title together in 2015. Towards the end of 2021, you guys reunited in Cup. This is around the time also that RFK came to be. Has that been, how would you guys describe how you work together, and has that been just as much of the success as, Brad coming in and doing what he's doing?
Yeah, I think it's been helpful for sure. It was for Chris and I to start working together. Obviously, we had the previous time together on the Xfinity side. So I think it probably shortened the time it took for us to kind of click on things. I think we saw that we did, I think, 5 races at the end of 2021 and had some decent runs there. And then we got into last year and felt like I say, we saw steady improvement throughout the year, and obviously the win at Bristol last year. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely helped, I think, speed up our progression, and hopefully, we see this kind of like the results we've seen from the last few weeks. Hopefully, it's just getting started. We can keep building on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so it's certainly those 5 races. We had some really solid runs, and we're in top 5 in a couple of them, and then we got hit with the next gen car, and I think that was the next gen, the Brad and it becoming RFK, lots of changes, and so having that chemistry and not having to go far or to start from scratch certainly helped get us to a place where we were much closer, much earlier in the season. So that I felt like us working together was more elevated than maybe where we're at with the car itself. So that it only took, call it 8 to maybe 10 or 12 races in the season last year to figure out the car, so that we weren't having to learn each other. We weren't having to learn the organization. There was when there's so much new. We talked about it a decent amount last year with the 6 team, with most of that group coming from a different manufacturer, from a different organization, with Brad coming in from a different organization, same manufacturer. That's a ton of moving pieces, and we had to deal with about half that. So felt like that was certainly a big way for us to be a lot more consistent through the summer. We kind of found a good baseline, enabled us to get that win later in the season last year, and to be in a good spot now to where I feel like we have a good understanding, and I'm definitely not one to over exaggerate, and I think Scott has a pretty good read on my number scale, and knows that if on a 1 to 10, if I say 4, we're probably turned around backwards in the fence. Pretty much work within about 3 numbers. So it was just that understanding and that chemistry that enables us to dial in much better and much quicker when there was so much changing around us at the beginning of last season, especially.
Go to Eric and then Matt.
Eric Young with the superspeedway.com. This question's kind of for both of you guys. It seems people kind of view you as underdogs, but you've got 2 wins now in a row. You're one of the best performing Fords going into the playoffs. Do you guys view yourself as underdogs, or where do you see yourselves?
I mean, I kind of like being an underdog. I like being under the radar a little bit, where people aren't looking at you. I guess I'm just not one to like to have a lot of attention, so maybe that's where it all fits. But I also know that with a couple wins, then it's kind of hard to hide at that point. So, we won't be able to live with that the underdog, I guess, kind of name very long, obviously, with the way we've been running here. But that's fine. Like I say, I think from performance standpoint, obviously you want to be peaking at this time of the season, getting ready for the playoffs. So if we were underdogs to this point, that's good. Like I say, it fits with my personality, but we'll also look forward to being one of the contenders. And I mean, I'll be proud if people look at the 17 and they're like, man, that's one of the top teams. That's what we want to be. And I feel like the last couple of weeks, what we've done, we beat people outright. So obviously that gets some attention, but that's it's good attention, and definitely happy with that part of it.
Come over here to the far left to Matt.
I was just going to say ditto, so.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Matt Weaver, Sportsnaut. First for Scott. You guys undercut the 19 by 3 laps. What went into that, and then was that ultimately what got you guys the track position, won the race?
So ours was based on when we had to pit. We had taken some. We stayed out at the start of the 3rd stage, so obviously we weren't as in the same fuel situation they were. I think the 19 came in and had topped off at the 3rd stage. So we pit based on basically where we had to. We ran it as far as we could. We maybe had another couple laps in it because I don't think you ran to all the way to the end of the fuel, but we basically ran to the point where we were in the window where we could make it to the end. And just this kind of race with minimal lap time fall off, that was the play we had. So I was kind of surprised that everyone responded as quickly as they did. I thought some guys would stay out and keep running, just based on the way it's played out in the past. But when we pit and we actually cycled out in front of them, and with faster lap times for their few laps there, I think then they realized they had to do something to counter that. So it just worked out really well for us. The main thing was just track position, and then obviously for us it was more based on our fuel window, what we had to do. Them responding the way they did, it was, like I say, a little bit of a surprise that as many people did that, but it all worked.
And then for both of you guys, does the last 2 weeks change the ceiling for how you guys view what this season could be? And could this be a Phoenix Final Four caliber season now?
I would say feel stronger about it now, but I would also say that was the mindset and the goals that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of last season even, and didn't get there near as quick as we wanted to last season. Obviously, our win came in the playoffs, so it did not elevate you to that next level, and we weren't where we needed to be. And we started this season with that same mentality of that there's three things we want to do. We want to win races, make the playoffs, drive into the playoffs, and not be a placeholder there. And I feel like at a lot of times throughout the season, we knew we were capable of making the playoffs. We knew we were capable of winning races for first several months. Maybe saying that we were heading to Phoenix was a little bit of a stretch, but there's been improvement throughout the year at basically every style of racetrack, and some massive improvements at some of the tracks that have been some of my worst, Richmond, for instance. So, when we look at that and say that we're improving some of those and knowing what races are in the playoffs and what was good for us last season, with the momentum that we've had in these wins, it certainly gives you a stronger opinion that yes, we should be able to make a run at that. But it was always our goal, to be clear. That was never not in our vision for what we were trying to do on the season.
Yeah, I think the way we've raced recently, the last few weeks, it's the way it's come together. Definitely gives us the confidence to know that we can go pretty far into the playoffs. And we know that there's some tracks that are going to be tough for us, and there's some tracks that that we'll be strong at. Obviously, we gotta manage and get better at the ones that we think are going to be tough. But like I say, Richmond was one that I didn't expect necessarily to happen the way it did. So it gives me a lot of confidence to know that we can go into the playoffs and be really strong. And like I said, I look at the way we've won the last 2 weeks, and it wasn't by luck or backing into it. It was something that we just went outright and beat the best people out there. So that gives you a lot of confidence going into it, and for sure, I think we can get to Phoenix.
I actually have a question that was texted to me that's along those same lines and kind of follows with what you guys were just saying. But the question was, this win helps your bonus point situation in the playoffs. So what are your thoughts on the depth your team can achieve through the various cutoff rounds? And as you've talked a little bit about here, can this team be a championship contender?
I don't know what that looks like yet. I haven't seen any of that, so I don't know.
I think what bonus points, like playoff points, like we have 11 now, would be with this. So for sure helps every one of them.
Okay, so that's a whole lot more appealing, right, than last week. So and especially 2 weeks ago. That gives you a nice cushion. So I don't even know where that ends up putting us right now, or when we get to playoffs, right? If it were to be today, but that certainly helps you drive through different rounds, right? When you have that little bit to lean back on. So. Another one in the next couple of weeks would just sure enough be good.
Yeah, and that's kind of like we talked about after Richmond. It really changed the focus. Up to that point, we had really been looking at just overall points on the day and the points racing mentality. And once we got the win and knew we were secure in the playoffs, then it really changes the mentality of all right, now let's try to get the playoff points and see what we can do to keep padding that side of it.
Awesome. Do we have any final questions for our race winners? Go back to camera.
I don't know if this was mentioned or not, but the last time the 17 car won back-to-back in the Cup Series was Matt Kenseth in 2009 at Daytona and Auto Club. So just putting the team really, getting back to victory lane, not, one or two times, but multiple times throughout this year. Just what does that mean to sort of emulate what was done when Roush was really, at the top of their game?
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the era that I'm talking about when 15 years ago when I was looking at signing that piece of paper. It was like, man, this is awesome. This is going to be great, and that's a cool stat, and especially knowing how good Matt Kenseth is, and or was now. Was he's retired Hall of Famer, right? So, certainly that's it's a cool stat for us to look back on to know that able to keep improving RFK, and obviously the 17 being a pretty nostalgic number in the Cup Series. So that's surely a good stat to hear now. It's probably not what you're thinking about in the closing laps of the races, but very cool to hear and know that kind of progress is being made.
Anything final for Chris or Scott? All right, we'll wrap up with Steven.
This isn't really a question per se, but I just wanted to say that, Chris, you are now only the third driver in the next gen to win back-to-back, joining Harvick and Byron.
Also a good stat.
Yes.
No, that's certainly cool. And like we said, it's to look at two vastly different racetracks. That's the measure to me that progress is being made. It's not. I feel like we've talked about it the last couple of weeks through some of our media sessions. In the past we've you can get labeled as a super speedway organization. We're going to show up those short tracks. Whatever it may be, I've ended up with a road course label on us through the last couple of years, and I feel like we don't have to submit to those labels anymore. That we're very universal right now, and have seen that on the season. We don't have the wins on all these styles of racetracks, but we surely have had some great performance that we've been able to measure throughout a lot of different styles of racetracks, and know that if we could do a little better here, or make a better decision on where I was going on a restart, or be cleaner on pit road at a time, or any of these things that the whole group and the whole team works together to do together, that we could have had a win here or there at different styles of racetracks. So, yeah, I certainly feel like we're very universal right now, and we got 2 road races coming up too. So that's somehow that label has stuck pretty decent, and we've been good at them. So looking at that as yet another opportunity.